Prabhupada Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada Shri Radha Madhav ki jai, Kunj Bihari ki jai, Shri Gaurnitai ki jai, Jagannath Baladev Subhadra ki jai, Jai Shri Radha ki Gopinath ki jai, Shri Prabhupada ki jai. So we'll do the opening pranams. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Gyan, Narayana Namaskrita, Naram Cheva Narottamam, Devim Saraswati Vyasam, Tato Jayamudire. Before starting the Shema Bhagavatam, which is very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead, Narayana, unto Narayan, Rishi, the foremost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Mr. Bhaktareshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Mashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki. By regular attendance of classes on the Bhagavatam and by rendering of service to pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personal Godhead, whose praise and transcendental songs is established as an irrevocable fact. Om Gyan Timrandasya Gyanandana Shlakaya Chakshurletam Yena Tasmei Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in darkness, ignorance, and spiritual master opened my eyes with torturing knowledge. Often I swept the obeisances unto him. Okay. Jai. So thank you all of you. It's a real pleasure to be here. So I want to offer my pranam mantras to you. Vanchakalpatro Bhishta Kripa Sindhu Bhaevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Svasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Jai. So because of all of you, I'm able to give this class. Without your presence, without the walls, without the floors, without all this ambience, it would not be possible. So thank you so much for engaging me in your service. So today, we will be doing a verse that might be familiar to you. It's in chapter 23 of Canto 8. Canto 8 is the canto that talks about the wrap-up of the entire creation. So we're using this verse, this important verse from chapter 23, verse 16. So I'd like to thank Monil Prabhu, yes, for giving me this opportunity as well. Okay, so I guess what we do is we chant together, yeah?
So you can recite first and then we can recite.
Okay, all right, so let me just get to the purport as well. So this is a famous verse spoken by none other than, Ushana or Shukracharya. So Ushana, will talk about him, and we'll talk about how he glorifies the holy name, even being the Daitya. Okay, so this is an important verse because even a Daitya can glorify the holy name. That's why he's in the Bhagavatam. So Ushana talks this verse. Mantrasta chantrascha chidram Desha kalahara vastuna Sarvam karoti nishchadram Anu sankirtanam tava. Okay.
Mantras tantras sidram.
Mantras tantras tidram. Desha kal aharha vastuta. Sarvam karoti nishchiridram. Anu sankirtanam tava. Mantratas tantratas chidram Desha kalarha vastutaha Sarvam karoti nishchiridram Anusankirtanam Tava. Anyone else? Mantratas-tantratarashchidram Desha-kalara vastutaha Sarvam karoti nischidram Anusankirtanam Tava Mantratantratarashchidram Desha-kalara vastutaha Sarvam karoti nischidram Anusankirtanam Tava. Synonyms?
So we can do it after you or with you.
Well, let's do it together. Mantratas. In pronouncing the Vedic mantras improperly. Tantra. You're following what it says here. Discrepancy. Dish in the matter of country, kala and time, arha and recipient, vastutaha and paraphernalia, sarvam, all these, karoti makes, nishchidram, without discrepancy, anusinkirtanam, constant chanting the holy name, tava, of your lordship. Translation appropriate by Srila Prabhupada. So, again. Okay, sure. There may be discrepancies in pronouncing mantras and observing the regulated principles. And moreover, there may be discrepancies in regard to time, place, person, and paraphernalia. But when your Lordship's holy name is chanted, everything becomes faultless. Purport. Okay, Nityananda Prabhu, you had your hammer first. Maybe you can read, let's see how long the purport is. Oh, it's not that long. Maybe you can read 1/3, and the Matajis can read 1/3 and back to Prabhu's. Okay?
Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended
Hare Nama, Eva Kevalam. Kalo Nasteva, Eva Kati
In
Anyataha.
this age of quarrel and hypocrisy, the only means of deliverance is the chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no other way, there is no other way, there is no other way. In this age of Kali, it is extremely difficult to perform Vedic ritualistic ceremonies or sacrifices perfectly. Hardly anyone can chant the Vedic mantras with perfect pronunciation or accumulate paraphernalia for Vedic performances.
Therefore, the sacrifice recommended in this age is Sankirtana, constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord. Yajnai Sankirtana Praya Yajanti Sumirdash. Instead of wasting time performing Vedic sacrifices, those who are intelligent, those who possess good brain substance should take the chanting of the Lord's holy name and thus perform sacrifice perfectly. I have seen that many religious leaders are addicted to performing yajnas and spending hundreds and thousands of rupees for imperfect sacrificial performances. This is a lesson for those who unnecessarily execute such imperfect sacrifices.
We should take advice of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Yagya Sankirtana Praya Yajanti Sumirdasaha. Although Shukracharya was strict Brahmana, addicted to ritualistic activities, he also admitted, Nischidram Anusankirtanam Tava. My Lord, constantly chanting of your holy name, of your Lordship, makes everything perfect. In Kali Yuga, the Vedic ritualistic ceremonies cannot be performed as perfectly as before. Therefore, Srila Jiva Goswami has recommended that although one should take care of Although one should take care to follow all the principles in every kind of spiritual activities, especially in worship of the deity, there is still a chance of discrepancies, and one should compensate for this by chanting the holy name of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In our Krishna consciousness movement, we therefore give special stress to the chanting of Hare Krishna Mahamantra in all activities.
Thank you so much. Om Tat Sat. Jai. So just a couple of things in this purport before we go on to the reflections. So Prabhupada has mentioned this quote. It's from the Brihadaranyaka Purana. It's from 38, 126. So I humbly request when we read Prabhupada's purports, we should not go over these things. We should read each and every line other purport, and otherwise purport will not put in there, so we should read that too. And also we missed the part where it says Bhagavatam 1.5.29. That's a very important verse in the Bhagavatam, so we should read that as well. So when we read Prabhupada's purports, we should read the quote it came from. That'll also help you remember where the quotation came from, because we're like spiritual lawyers. When someone asks us where this came from, we should at least have some realization that it comes from the Puranas, the Upanishads, it comes from the Bhagavatam, like that. Is that okay? All right. Thank you so much. And it's Yajna. Okay, not Yajya, it's Yajna. I'm doing a course right now in Vrindavan, talking about pronunciation of Purusha Sukta. It's Yajna. Okay, like that, Yajna. Okay? All right, because I also used to say a long time ago Yajna, but it's Yajna, according to the Acharyas. Okay, thank you so much. All right, so let's go on to the essence of this purport and how we can put it into daily life. So here, a demon is talking about the holy name. So this is unusual. How is a demon talking about the holy name? Well, it's because if you go to the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, which is called the Vibhuti Yoga chapter, okay, the 10th chapter is called the? Vibhuti Yoga. And English is called? Opulence of the? Absolute, yes, thank you. So opulence of the absolute. Haribol, he gives extra prasadam for breakfast. Gets an extra muffin. So basically, it's Vibhuti Yoga. It's it's basically the essence of Bhakti Yoga, because it's in the middle verses, or the middle chapters of Bhagavad Gita. So in the 37th verse of the 10th chapter, 1037, the name of Shukracharya is mentioned in that verse, okay? So there, Lord Krishna talks about his different opulences, vibhutis. And there he mentions, Kavitam, Ushana, Kavitaha. Okay, Ushana is none other than who? Shukracharya. Okay? Shukracharya is Ushana. So why is Krishna lumping or plating him along with the fact that his other name is Vasudeva? He also mentions Pandunam, Arjuna. Then he says, also that later on that Muninam api aham, Muni api anam, that is Vyas. And then he mentions Kavitam, Ushana, Kavita. Okay? So he's putting him in the same category as himself as Vasudeva, as the Pandavanam Arjuna or Dhananjaya, okay? And then also as Vyas Muni. He's giving him in the same level, almost same level of stature. Then Prabhupada mentions or qualifies in the purport in the last line that Ushana or Shukracharya is a Kavi. What is a Kavi? Kavi means one who can see, he's far-seeing. He was a very intelligent politician and very, very intelligent, okay? And therefore the Daityas, being very intelligent, they sought him as the spiritual master, and therefore he is called Kavi. And it is said that he is an expansion of Lord Krishna. Okay, if you read the purport carefully, Shukracharya is an expansion. He is the opulence. Prabhupada mentions at the very last line, he's the opulence feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So therefore, Shukracharya is very special, although he may not be acting in a very proper way. Okay, during the Bali Maharaj, you read this already, in Canto 8, occupies a significant part of the canto of that. So therefore, Shukracharya is mentioning the importance of the glories of the holy name. So, we'll talk about a few of these things as examples. Now, the important thing is that in this verse that we just mentioned, mantras, chantarashas, chidram, that is that when we pronounce mantras, that we can often pronounce them improperly, right? And the famous story goes in the Bhagavatam, in the 6th canto, that when Twasta was wanting a son to kill Indra, right? Indra was worried that Vishwarup, the first son of Twasta, when you go back to the early part of canto 6, that he was taking sacrifices from the yajna and giving it to the Daityas, the demons. And therefore Indra was worried, so he killed him. And Vishwarup, being the son of a Brahmana, was also Brahmana. Then Twasta, he chanted a mantra. He chanted a mantra called Indra Shutro Bhavasa, like that, something like that. But he chanted it improperly. He said that I want a son who will be a Shutru of Indra, to kill him. But he chanted improperly, and therefore a son was born known as Vritrasura, right? Vritrasura was born, very powerful. But instead of being able to kill Indra, Indra killed him because his father, Twasta, pronounced the mantra improperly. So therefore, what it means is that if Twasta cannot pronounce the mantras properly, being, a very great sage, then who are we, right? And therefore, Shukracharya qualifies that in this age of Kali, Kalote Dari, Kirtanat. it mentioned that in Canto 12 of the Bhagavatam. That is that the main recipe or the prescription for this age is the Harinam Sankirtan. That is the yagya or yagnya. Okay? Yagnya for this age. I just did it like that. It's the yagnya for this age. All right. So let's talk about some leelas in the ISKCON of pronunciation. So one time there's a story that Gauranga Prabhu, you know Gauranga Prabhu, right? The famous, preacher in YouTube, Gauranga Prabhu from ISKCON Chopati. So one time he was in Yarabada jail. Is that okay? The sound is okay? So he was in Yarabada jail in Pune. How many of you are from Pune? Or have been to Pune? Okay, yes. So there's a jail there. You know this? You know the story? Okay, so he went to this jail called Yarabada jail. And there they have the topmost criminals. So you have to be very qualified to get into jail. Okay, you have to commit at least 1 or 2 murders to get into jail. Okay, not like going to 7-Eleven and robbing it. You have to do something big. And Mahatma Gandhi has been in jail. Jawaharlal Nehru has been there. Subhash Chandra Bose has been in jail. So you have to be, advanced jail person to go in there. So he was asked by the Assistant Commissioner of Police to give a pravachan, a talk there. He's giving a talk, and the best thing he said that when you do jail pravachans, that attendance is always guaranteed because they have to come to the morning program. They have to come to the morning program. So he had 500 jailers come, and these are all hardcore, criminals. So he was not too sure how things will go. Anyways, he was on stage and with police, and then he gave his talk, and at the end of the talk, he opened it up for questions. And this one guy in the back raised his hand, and he said that, I have a question. He said, sure. He said, no, I want to come up to the podium and ask this question. So Gauranga Prabhu, when he saw him, he said, okay, but who is this person? He asked this Assistant Commissioner of Police. He said, this person has already committed 12 murders. Then Gauranga Prabhu asked him, I'm going to be the 13th one. So he came up, he said, don't worry, there's a lot of police presence, you'll be fine. So this guy came at the podium and asked him a question. He said, you just chanted the Hare Krishna mantra, but you chanted Hare Ramo, Hare Ramo. It's not Hare Ramo, it's Hare Rama, according to the Puranas and Upanishads. When he said that, then all the other jailers, they clapped. They said, we have a Pandit among our group. This is amazing, we have a Pandit. So Gauranga Prabhu said, yeah, okay. Whether it's Rama or Ramo, it's the same. But anyways, that's the one thing he mentioned. That talks about pronunciation. And then more recently, Jagannath Prabhu, all of you know Jagannath Prabhu, the famous one, who is the king of the Ratha Yatra. So Jagannath Prabhu was very, very dear to Srila Prabhupada. And he occupies a very special place in ISKCON. Why? Because he's on the BBT calendar, right? He's on the BBT calendar. Why is he on the BBT calendar? Does anyone know why he's on the BBT calendar? Sorry?
Because Prabhupada told to have him in that thing. Because he made
That's one thing. But on the calendar, because Prabhupada said that he is the first ISKCON Vaishnava saint. And because he's first ISKCON Vaishnava saint, we have to, appreciate and recognize his appearance and disappearance day. Okay? His Tirabhav and Avirabhav, like that. So you'll see that on the BBT calendar. So Jayananda was very special to Prabhupada. In fact, when he left his body, he had some type of blood cancer. He left his body on May 1st, 1977, during the Brahma Muhurta time. He left his body. And when he left his body, they had a garland of Jagannath around his chest, and they had Srila Prabhupada chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. And then 5 days later, Prabhupada wrote him a letter. After he had left his body, he wrote him a letter on May 5th, 1977, and said that, I am greatly missing and feeling your separation. This is Srila Prabhupada, the ISKCON Acharya founder for the next 10,000 years. He said that I'm greatly missing your presence, okay, to Jayananda Prabhu. So Jayananda Prabhu occupied a very special place, and Prabhupada wrote in a letter that I'm sure that you have heard the Hare Krishna mantra, and therefore you have gone back to Golok Vrindavan Dham. What a glorious departure. He said that your departure is glorious, and we should all follow his example of Jayananda Prabhu. Jayananda Prabhu, we could talk about him, but he was very special, and therefore he is called the first Vaishnava saint. But the problem with Jayananda Prabhu is that he liked simple things. He did not like reading too much. He was not able to do daily service. In fact, he said that even he had an issue with the Gayatri, He had an issue with Gayatri. He could not pronounce the Gayatri like that, okay? So he did not do mantras, but he was very close to Srila Prabhupada. So that goes that simplicity is much, much more important than any erudite scholarship. Third thing is that when Srila Prabhupada took a sannyas, when he got sannyas, he got that in 1959, right? And when you go next time to Mathura, visit the Keshavji Gaudiya Math. That's where Srila Prabhupada got his sannyas in September 1959. And at that time, during his sannyas, the mantras were going on. But Prabhupada's godbrother who was sitting next to him, his name was Krishna Das Babaji Maharaj. He was chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. Prabhupada said, you keep on chanting. The mantras will go on, but you keep on chanting the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, because he gave that more importance. And then similarly, in the 70s, when the Krishna Balaram temple in Sri Vrindavan Dham was established, Srila Prabhupada, he encouraged his Western disciples, Europeans, Americans, to continue chanting very loudly the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, while all the Brahmanas of Vrindavan were doing all the mantras for the deity installation, the Pran Pratishta. So Prabhupada said, and of course Prabhupada had done it, he said that because he was the one in charge, he said that just chanting the Hare Krishna Mantra is sufficient for that yajna. However, the Samartha Brahmanas and the local villagers would not accept the fact that if he did not do all the mantras and all the pujas and all the rituals, then they would not have accepted the installation of the Krishna Balaram. So that goes to show that according to Srila Prabhupada and all the acharyas before him, the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mantra is the beginning, the middle, and the end, the means and the end, okay, for anything that we do in daily service. So therefore, when we do anything in ISKCON or in the Gaudiya Brahma line, Brahma Madhava Gaudiya Sampradaya line, there's two lines. One is the Bhagavad line, and the other one is the Panchtarika line. Okay, the Bhagavad line is the line in which you're chanting the Hare Krishna Mantra in everything you do. The Panchtarika line is the rules and regulations given by Naradji, Narad Muni. So when you do daily service, there are certain mantras to follow. When you do Achmana, there are certain mantras to follow. Nityananda Prabhu knows this, he's been trained. When you read the Bhagavatam, there's certain mantras we do, right? Like for example, when you dress the deities, put them to sleep, wake them up, there's certain mantras we do. So that's called according to the Narad Pancharatra. But every time we do that, it should always be accompanied with the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mantra. Just now we did the Prabhupada Arati, we did the Mangal Arati, the 7 o'clock Arati, like that. So every time we do that, we always have the Hare Krishna Mantra. That cements it. The key is that Lord Krishna looks at our intention, not our pretension. Now, what is the difference? Just spend a moment. What is the difference between intention and pretension? Intention and pretension are two similar words, but they have totally different meanings. Intention means that we have a plan. We aim to achieve something based on some degree of sincerity, honesty, and faith. Okay, that's called intention. The flip side is called pretension. It comes from the word called pretend. Okay, so do we like anyone who pretends to us? Imagine if you had the so-called friend and he was always pretending that he was always there to help you. Oh, I see people looking at each other. Right? Sometimes we have, no, I'm the one. I'm a pretender. That's why I'm giving the class. So we're all, we have some sort of pretentiousness in us. Okay? That means that we have some sort of false claim. I'm so-and-so and therefore I can do so-and-so. It's our external look. Right? It's who are you not. That means you are a bluffer. A pretentious person is one who is a bluffer, a cheater, okay? Like that. So intention means someone who has a genuine desire to serve Krishna and improve spiritually or help others on the path of bhakti because they have some degree of inner sincerity, even if their outer actions are not perfect. Okay? Jagannath Prabhu was like that. He had excellent intentions and therefore he was very close to Srila Prabhupada. Prabhupada, it's oftentimes said, and you know, that he could see right through you. He could see right through you. In fact, he knew you better than you knew yourself. Okay? That's an acharya. He knew you better. So he knew what your intention was. So an example of intention is a devotee comes to ISKCON, he walks through the door of our Radha Gopinath temple, and he comes from Mangal Arati. He struggles to chant, focus on holy names, but he's trying, or she's trying. And they seek guidance, and they say that, Can next time, can I wear dhoti? Show me how to wear dhoti. Is my tilak on right? How should I chant? Please show me how to hold the beads. Because they have a sincere desire to learn. The key point is they're authentically trying to please devotees and the Lord. But what is a pretentious person? Can you give an example of what a pretentious person would do at Mangal Arati, for example? Right? He would come up all dressed in the finely ironed dhoti, kurta, right? You know, best of the tilak, maybe one from Radhakund, you know. Wearing, you know, five beads around his neck, you know, like Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Maharaj, you know, like that. And he comes, he looks pakka, right? Pakka. But then you say, Prabhu, please, we have some vegetables came up. There's no one to cook. Oh, no. I don't want to put a spot on my dhoti, kurta, you know. So that is someone, I'm not pointing fingers, but that is someone who is pretentious. That outside they're one thing, inside they're something else, okay? Like that. So that's called pretentious. So my dear devotees, who do you prefer? Do you prefer someone who has good intentions or good pretensions?
Good intentions.
Good intentions, right? And who does Krishna prefer? Good intentions. This world, this material world? Yes. This material world likes people that are, you know, have very nicely combed, gelled hair, you know, wearing a suit and tie, you know, like driving a, you know, very expensive car. These people are pretentious because the world sees them as such. They have some affluence and influence, okay? Like that. But we are intention-like. So key point is not our external show, but our internal desires or mood, or bhav. The story that goes along with this, and you've heard this, is the story that Prabhupada gives of the cobbler and the brahmana, right? Is there anyone that does not know the story of the cobbler and the brahmana? Anyone? If you don't know, that's okay. Yeah, that's fine. So one time, Narad Muni was on his way to Vaikuntha. I'll tell it very short. And on the way, he saw a brahmana. A brahmana was taking bath in the river, came out and said, "Oh, Narad Muni, pranams. Where are you off to?" He said, "I'm going to Vaikuntha to see Narayan." He said, "Oh, you're going to see Narayan. Can you please do me a favor? Can you ask him when I will go back to go back to Vaikuntha?" He said, "Sure, no problem." So this brahmana was very pakka. He would wake up early in the morning, do a sadhana, you know, bathe 3 times a day. Everything was pakka. Then along the road, just down the road, he saw a cobbler. A simple man who was, you know, had some shoes, putting some nails, you know, soles in them. And this cobbler was very simple-minded, and he asked, "Oh, Narad, pranams to you. It's my glorious day. Where are you going to?" He said, "I'm going to Vaikuntha." He said, "Oh, you're going to Vaikuntha. Can you please do me one favor? Can you ask Narayan, when will I come to, you know, get his darshan in Vaikuntha?" So he said, "Fine." So then Narji went to Vaikuntha, and there he met Narayan, and he said that, "I have these 2 requests from 2 people down from earth." And he said that, what is it? Narayan asked. He said that the brahmana and the cobbler want to know when they will come back and see you back in this Vaikuntha. So Narayan said, the cobbler will get mukti in his lifetime. He'll get liberation in his lifetime. But the brahmana, I don't know his fate. I don't know when he's going to come back. Narayan said, "Oh, is that right? I thought it was the other way around, you know? I thought it was the other way around." He said, "Don't worry, just..." Narayan didn't ask him directly. He didn't give him a direct reply. He said that when they ask you, when are they going to return, when they ask you what I was doing in the Vaikuntha, you tell them that I was putting an elephant through the eye of a needle and pulling it back and forth. You know, a big elephant to the eye of a needle, putting it back and forth. And I said, "Okay, doesn't make any sense to me, but he's my guru, I shall go back." He came back to earth, and then the brahmana asked him, "Oh, so did you see Narayan?" He said, "Yes." So what was he doing when he asked him? He said that he was threading a big elephant to the eye of a tiny needle, and not only that, he's moving him back and forth, back and forth. Brahman said, "Oh, what rubbish is this? You know, how can you put an elephant through the eye of a needle? Not possible. This Narayan of yours is fake. I don't believe you." He went over the sadhana. Narad Muni realized, okay, who was the brahmana. He went to the simple cobbler, and he told this cobbler, "Did you see Narayan?" "Yes, I saw Narayan." "What was he doing?" "Well, he was putting this elephant through the eye of the needle and moving it back and forth." Cobbler said, "Wow. This is so wonderful. You know, my Lord can do anything." Narad Muni said, "Do you really believe this is true?" He said, "Of course it's true. If you look up, you know, we're sitting underneath this, you know, this banyan tree, or ashwagandha tree. And this banyan tree has come from a tiny, tiny seed that looks the size of a mustard seed. But if you look at this tree is huge, and out of this tree have come thousands and hundreds of thousands of different fruits from one little seed. So the Lord can maintain and float all these planets and universes with just his external energy, then why can't he put in a simple elephant to the eye of a needle? And then right away you knew who is pretentious and who has good intentions. The story of Bob Kompler and a Brahmana. All right. Now let's go back to the Shastras. Let's because we have to do some, prayascha. Have to do some hard work now. All right, so the Shastras say, Kalota Dari Kirtanad, in the Canto 10 of 12:3, I think 52, Kirtaya Deyato Vishnum Treta Yad Yajato Makhai, Dvaparam Pricharayam Kalota Dari Kirtanad. 12:352, I believe it is. Is that right? Okay. 12:3. Anyways, so what it means is that whatever result that you get in Sati Yoga from doing that to Vishnu, that is meditating on Lord Vishnu, the same result will give you in Treta Yuga by doing, sacrifices. And then in the Dwapara Yuga, Paricharyam means to offer obeisances to the Supreme Lord, serving the Lord's will, Lord, temple worship. And then by doing Harinam Kirtan, yes, it's right there, Harinam Kirtan, Harikshama Mantra, that will be achieved in Kali Yuga. So Kali Yuga grants us this very great boon, very great boon. Similarly, in the Narad Pancharatra, so this is a book, Pancharatra was spoken over 5 nights. That's what it's called, Pancharatra, by Narad Muni, okay? And there's a very famous verse. And you can repeat with me, because it goes like this, Yadi Hari, tapasya tatakim, Yadi Hari stapa tataskim. So the first line and the first word of that verse is different. The first word of the second line is different. The third word of the third line is different, and the fourth word of the fourth line is different. But Yadi Hari Tatas Tata Kim, okay? You can probably pull it up. You can look up Aradito Yadi Hari. Aradito Yadi Hari Tapas Tata Kim. So that 5 letters after that are all the same. So the verse goes like this. Aradito Yadi Hari Tapas Tata Kim. Anara Adito Yadi Hari Tapas Tata Kim. Antar Bahar Yadi Hari Tatas Kim. Na Antar Bahar Yadi Hari Tatas Kim. Right? Thank you, Prabhu. Right there. So it's very easy to memorize. If you're looking for a verse to memorize today, memorize this verse. This is spoken by Narad Muni. So what does this verse mean? Aradito means to worship. If you worship the Supreme Lord, then there's no need to do extra penances and austerities, right? But if you don't worship the Supreme Lord, then what is the value of all your penances and austerities, right? Similarly, if you do not see the Supreme Lord everywhere, his energy everywhere, then what is the worship, what is the benefit of all your penances and sacrifices? But if you see him everywhere in everything you do, internally and externally, then your sacrifices and tapasya are all complete. This is according to Narad Muni, one of the 12 Mahajans. Is that okay? All right. The key thing that we have to remember that when we advance on the spiritual path, we do 2 things. We do rituals and you do spirituals. Okay? But sometimes what happens that when we do spiritual things, they become more ritualistic. But the desire is that when we do ritualistic things, they should become more spiritual. It is the spirit in rituals that makes it spiritual. What is the difference? The difference is that when you do rituals, like for example, ritualistic things are things like we do certain types of homas, pujas, yajnas, etc. These things have to be done, okay? These things have to be done. But unless we do things that please the devotees and Supreme Lord, that is called spiritual. For example, when you do Mangal Arti prayers, okay? Some people might say that's ritual. We might think it is a ritual, but it's actually spiritual. Why is it spiritual? Because the Vaishnavacharyas, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur wrote that. Okay, Samsara Dava Nalila Loka, right? Shiguru Charna Padma. When you do that other one that we do for Shingarati, after Shingarati, that was written by Narottam Das Thakur. So therefore, these are the Acharyas. Narottam Das Thakur is a Sakhi of Champakalata. Okay, he serves Champakalata Sakhi. He was the Asa Sakhi, of Radharani's camp. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, according to Acharyas, is none other than Rupa Swami. Okay, and he is Rati Manjari. He's serving Lalita Manjari. Okay, so he's a very I think Vishaka, more like Vishaka, but he's very close to the camp. So therefore, what is ritualistic about it? It cannot be a ritual. Okay, ritual is something you have to do to get us to the spiritual. But spiritual means that which has the essence of the Supreme Personality Godhead. That's why it's called spiritual, right? Like, for example, in point, when we do Ekadashi, oh, what is the importance of doing Ekadashi? Or to fast from beans, grains, like that, legumes, very difficult to do. But as we start doing it, then it becomes more spiritual. That's why it's called Madhav Toshani. Is Hari Madhava. It's the day of Madhava, okay, like that. So therefore, it becomes spiritual. All right? Okay, so we'll do a few more things and then we'll close. Now, we all know this famous story of Ajamil, right? Ajamil, story in the 6th canto. What did Ajamil do at the very end, right? Ajamil was a Brahmana, right? He was a first-class Brahmana, and he resided in Kanyakubja, in Kanauj, modern-day Kanauj. He was a Pakka Brahmana. He worshipped the Narayan Shila. His father taught him all the rituals. He knew all the regulations, but he got some bad association, right? We all know the story. Is there anyone that does not know the story of Ajamil? I'm sure all of you know it, right? Right? So Ajamil saw the scene when he was going to the forest to get some flowers and grass. He saw the scene of two people, eloping with each other. And one was a prostitute and the other one was Shudra. And that kind of, caused some irritation in his mind. And then, like that, he meditated on it, and then he actually left his good wife and married the prostitute. And from the prostitute, he got 10 sons, the youngest of one, which was called, who's the youngest son? Narayan, yes. And then he got into some bad things, like another Jagaya Madai, like that, okay? And then at the end, when he was 88 years old, he was about to leave his body. And then on his deathbed, he was about to leave his body. And when we were about to leave our body, what do we want? We want someone close to us. And no one was there. Not even his wife, his so-called wife was there. Not his other 9 sons were there. He called out to Narayan. He called out to Narayan very loudly, very, very loudly. And Narayan came. And then at that point, the Yamadutas came. 3 Yamadutas came. And we know the story. They wanted to take him back to Yamalok, okay? Because he had a date with Yamaraj. It's not the type of date that you want. Okay. Fortunately, he called 911, and then 4 Vishnudutas came. They came and gave him CPR, and they shocked him. Okay, they shocked him, and they shocked him back to life. And he heard what we read in the Bhagavatam. He heard the Bhagavatam at the time of leaving. Okay, and when he hears the Bhagavatam at the time of leaving, he will go back to He'll go back to Vishnuloka, right? With the Vishnudutas. He heard the Bhagavatam. And basically, the Vishnudutas is a long story. They rebuked the Yamadutas. They say that you people do not know who to take back and who to take back. Okay, you are confused. And they spoke the Bhagavatam to them. But they said that basically the gist is that because he chanted Narayan, he will go back to Godhead. Just because of that. All the sins are resolved. And according to all the Puranas, the Garuda Purana, the Brihad Vishnu Purana, the Skand Purana, you look at all the Puranas, Vishnu Purana, the Bhagavad Purana, chanting the holy name is the most supreme. I think tomorrow's class and Sunday class we'll talk about the Harinam, the glories of Harinam Prabhu. Right? You'll get an extra dose of that. So make sure you go for that class. Therefore, he was saved at the end. Okay? Of course, the acharyas say that we think that he was actually calling her the son, but according to 3 acharyas, Sridhar Swami, who gave a commentary on the Bhagavatam, Viraraghava Swami, another acharya, they all say that he was actually thinking about Narayan at that time. His son, but he was also thinking about Narayan because he had a Narayan Shila. Brahmanas at that time had a Narayan Shila in the home, and he would take care of the Narayan Shila. Therefore, he thought of Narayan at the time of leaving, and he went back to Godhead, although his mind was also on his son, like that. That's the glorious departure of Ajamil. Right, so the Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, you can pick it up, Prabhu. Adi Leela, Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi Leela, so 1:16:11, 1.16:11, this one Adi Leela. And this quote is given by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami Maharaj, who's the author of Chaitanya Charitamrita. It's 1:16:11. Yeah, so I think we'll go down to verse. Oh, okay, so if you go Adi, CC Adi, 16:11. Yeah, it's a little sometimes.
16 and then 11.
Yes, probably. So this talks about a bookworm, okay? This talks about a bookworm. So sometimes when we read Shastras, we become too grossed up in the what's in the Shastras. So someone can read this verse probably. Yes.
Bahu Shastre Bahu Vakye Chitte Brahma Maya Sadhya Sadhana Shrestana Sadhya Sadhana Shrestha Nahaya Nishchaya.
And then the brothers can read the translation, please. Mataji's.
If one becomes a bookworm,
Mataji.
Ma-
One becomes a bookworm, reading many books and scriptures, and hearing many commentaries and instructions of many men. This will produce doubt in the heart. One cannot in this way ascertain the real goal of life.
And we'll just read a bit of the purport, maybe back to the Prabhus.
In Srimad Bhagavatam 7:13a, it is said, Granthan Naiva Vyashashed Bahunam Na Vyakyayam Upayunjita. One should not read many books, nor should one try to make a profession of reciting many books, especially if one is a devotee. One must give up the ambition to be a learned scholar and in this way earn a worldly reputation and financial facilities. If one diverts his attention to studying many books, he cannot fix his mind in devotional service, nor can he understand many scriptures, for they are full of grave statements and meanings. In this connection, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur gives his opinion that those who are attracted to studying many kinds of literatures concerning various subject matters, especially fruitive activities, philosophy or speculation, are deprived of unalloyed devotional service because of their splayed attention.
Jai. Is that okay? So sometimes when we do some courses and so forth, we become we forget the forest for the trees. We read too many books and start memorizing verses, but we forget what is the intention behind the verses. You know, Vedescha Sarve Aham Veda Vedya. That is that the Supreme Lord Krishna is the speaker of the Vedas. He's compiled the Vedas, and our goal of the Vedas is to come back to the Supreme Lord. Okay, according to the Bhagavad Gita 15:15, you know, like that. So the key is that when we do certain courses, we do many courses, Bhakti Shastri course, seminars, etc. We should not forget what is the main essence behind that. You know, okay, like that. That's the main essence. Therefore, in closing, Rupa Goswami says, "Yene tena prakarna mana Krishna navasayat sarva vidhi vishedasir etyar eva kinkara." Kinkara means a servant. You know, like the gopis, they're called kinkaris, like that. It basically means that anything we do in our spiritual life, the goal and all the principles and everything we do, whether it's Bhagavad Vidhi Marg or Narpancharatara Marg, the goal is to please the devotees and the Supreme Lord. That is the goal of everything we do. All other principles are secondary to goals. They're servants of these goals, okay? Yene tena prakarna mana Krishna vasya. That's from Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu 1-4, like that. So in closing, I'd like to just summarize that, number one, Krishna looks at the sincerity more so than a display of intellect or external show. Two is that chanting the Hare Krishna mantra is the most important activity in this age of Kali. Srila Prabhupada, I can't find the verse, but it says, many times people have said that, he said, and someone can maybe verify it later on, that 99% of everything we do, whether we're reading, daily service, cutting of vegetables, doing Rath Yatra, volunteer, these are because of the degree of how well we chant. 99% of everything we do is based on our quality of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. And the third thing is always keep Krishna as your focal point within our vision and without. That is inside us and also in our relationships with all other devotees and the world. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai, Nanda Kortaveshik Jai, Gaur Pranandi, Hari Hari Bol. So end there. We have a few minutes. Any comments or any questions? Yes. So I think the hand in the back. Sorry, Prabhu. Please tell your name. I'd like to. Rohan Prabhu. Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you for the wonderful class. I had a question about this only, like it is mentioned by Mahaprabhu that we should not read too many books, but at the same time, we have to read the books of Prabhupada and of
Yes.
different acharyas.
Yes,
How
absolutely.
should we take this instruction?
Yes. So the thing is that we should do it, this instruction is that we should always, at the end of reading the book, what is the purpose of reading the book? We should keep the purpose in mind. The purpose is, have I memorized 10 shlokas today and then I can give them in class, or is it because it's for the pleasure of the devotees to get the essence of what I read? So if we keep the essence in mind, and according to Bhaktisiddhanta, the essence is not to show off to people, to understand that we know from all these stories that are in Bhagavatam scriptures, they're meant to us to bring us a step closer to the Supreme Lord. Just like you get Bhagavatam class, you're taking an extra step towards the Lord. That's how we keep that. Is that okay? Yes. Oftentimes when I prepare for class, I get caught up in reading verses and going, then you say, oh, this is a nice book, Like, for example, I just mentioned, going off track, the story about Tavasta, you can read about it in Canto 6, is actually mentioned in the Taittiriya Gautamiya, which is a part of the Yajurveda. Now, this is an external thing. This is not something we would mention in class, right? But if you want to know it, read it, but some things in a class like this is not necessary like that. Sometimes people bring things from the Upanishads, mention it once, what value does it have? How is it going to help us in our chanting? It might help us to find the source, but it's not necessarily going to bring us any closer to that. It'll make us a bookworm. Bahu Shastra. Jai. Yes, Prabhu. Bahu Shastra, Bahu Vakya. Yes, Prabhu. Sorry, Prabhu. Antaraksh. Yes.
Yes, Prabhu. Like you mentioned, Shukracharya is Ushna, one of the representatives of Krishna. And he is from the lineage of Brigumani as well, a qualified Brahman. The sport that he was put by the Lord, and it's the angle that I'm trying to see it through, that Krishna intentionally created demons through Jay and Vijay, and just to have pleasure for himself, just to have fun. And when Shukracharya Brahman was on the spot, he seemed like a kind of someone who is in more of ignorance. Like all the rituals we do to be in more of goodness, and then so that we can do the spiritual stuff. But here, the way he was acting and leading the demons, especially during Prahlad Maharaj's time and Bali Maharaj's time, it's like it seems more of ignorance. So, like, can someone be serving the Lord in more of ignorance, if that's a service?
Yes, that's a nice question. And I know Antaraksh Prabhu always asks some very deep questions, because when he asks a question, it makes us think twice, So let me just think a little deeply. No, it's very nice. So we do understand that there are certain personalities that are there to do a sort of menial service for the Lord. And one of them is to come as a demon. And we know that, for example, as you mentioned, Jay and Vijay, they came as 4 times they came as demons, like that. Fourth one, of course, some people say as Jagai Madai, like that too. So these people all have a service to do. All the demons that came in Krishna Lila are actually devotees of the Lord, because they come and serve the Lord for a certain higher purpose. So similarly, Shukracharya also comes to serve the Lord for a higher purpose. Because he's serving the demons as a guru. He's the Adi Guru of demons. And we understand that in this creation, there's creation, sustenance, and destruction. So for sustenance and destruction to happen, we have to have people that are demoniac. Otherwise, Lord Shiva would have no work cut out for him. Right? So therefore, people that are demoniac have work cut out for it, and therefore they need a leader. And that was chosen as Shukracharya.
Terrorism is somewhere God's choice.
Sorry, terrorism?
Terrorism is somewhere Krishna's choice to be there in this material world.
Well, okay, so yes.
That's what demons were doing, like they stole demigods' wives, their properties, and everything
Yeah.
was destructive.
Yeah. I mean, that was whole-scale terrorism. Yes, whole-scale terrorism. We can say it that way. They did a lot of bad things. And yes, that is meant for a specific reason, because the demigods also did some things that were not so proper as well too. They also stole, when, for example, when Kayadu was alone and Hiranyakashipu was separated from her, Prahlad Maharaj, they were going to kidnap her and treat her in a bad way. So, and then Indra, as we understand that he has also done some things that were not so proper like that. He was doing some things with other wives and many things like that. So therefore, it's meant to create a correction, so to say, in the entire material formula. And we often cannot understand why things happen the way they do in the Bhagavatam, but the essence is that this is all orchestrated by the Supreme Lord. Is all orchestrated by the Supreme Lord. There's reason for that. And the other important thing is that everything that demons do is not necessarily all bad. Right? Like, for example, towards the end of the 10th canto, we hear that, like, for example, Lord Shiva fights with Lord Krishna. Right? He fights with them. You know, when they have the hot weapon and the cold weapon, like that. So he fights with them. So there's reasons why the demons are fighting. And so there always is some reason why terrorism in the higher world occurs, because it offers some sort of correction. Also, the important thing to understand is that Shukracharya, while he acted as a demon, he was blessed by two people. He was blessed because of the presence of Prahlad Maharaj, and he was also blessed because of Bali Maharaj. Both are pure devotees. You know, and Bali Maharaj is a classic example. He's also the head of the demons, but he's a Mahajan, like that. So sometimes things may appear a bit wild, you know, from the Wild West, but at the end of the day, if it's in the Bhagavatam, you know, Dharma Parojita Ketavo, like that. That is, that anything that's in the Bhagavatam is free from this cheating propensity, is free from the four Dharma, Artha, Kama, and Moksha. It's completely free from that. So it's a short answer, but I hope that answers your question, Prabhu. Yeah? Thank you so much. Okay, so we'll close. Vanchakalpatra Vishya, Kripa Sindhu Bevacha.